We can reconstruct a Roman road stone by stone, yet we cannot say with confidence what most Roman women used during a period. That silence is strange, because menstruation shaped the daily lives of countless women long before anyone manufactured a pad or tampon. The problem is not that ancient women lacked solutions. The problem is that their solutions were usually soft, organic, repeatedly washed or discarded. Cloth decays, wool disappears, plant fibers rot. Private household objects rarely become museum treasures, especially when nobody thought they were worth recording. Most surviving texts were also written by men. They describe laws, medical theories, and fears about menstrual blood far more often than ordinary routines. So there was never one ancient answer. A woman's options depended on climate, available fibers, clothing, access to water, privacy, and wealth. For prehistory, certainty is almost impossible. People could have used soft hide, woven fibers, moss, grass, or nothing separate from their clothing, but direct evidence is exceptionally rare. Once communities produced woven textiles, folded reusable cloth became an obvious practical possibility. It could absorb fluid, be rinsed, dried, and used again. But even that simple solution created work. Water had to be carried, cloth had to be washed, and drying it discreetly required space and privacy. Wealth mattered too. Fine linen or soft wool would have been easier on the skin than a rough scrap available to a laborer or enslaved woman. Ancient Egypt gives us detailed medical papyri discussing fertility, pregnancy, and menstrual problems. That proves Egyptian healers paid attention to reproductive health. It does not prove the popular internet claim that Egyptian women routinely used papyrus tampons. Historians have no surviving ancient papyrus period product demonstrating that practice. Washable linen is plausible in a textile-producing society, but the exact arrangement remains uncertain. In the Greek world, medical writers treated menstruation as an important sign of health, although their explanations were often deeply mistaken. Some believed women accumulated excess blood that the body had to release, making a missed period seem dangerous. Philosophers also built female biology around the male body and used menstruation as supposed evidence that women were colder, weaker, or incomplete. Those theories tell us much about Greek prejudice and surprisingly little about what Greek women placed inside their clothing each month. Wool and folded textiles were available, so they are reasonable possibilities, but possibility should not be disguised as archaeological proof. Rome produced even stranger claims. Pliny the Elder wrote that menstrual blood could damage crops, dull mirrors, and cause other disasters. Yet Roman women still worked, traded, raised families, traveled, and managed ordinary life while those myths circulated around them. Cloth and wool were widely available, and Mediterranean sponges existed, but confident claims about a standard Roman menstrual device go beyond the evidence. The safest conclusion is variety. A wealthy household could provide softer fabric, abundant water, storage, and help with washing. A poor woman had fewer materials and less privacy. Managing a period was therefore not only biological. It was a problem of labor, housing, water, and social class. Religious rules added another layer. In Leviticus, menstruation creates a state of ritual impurity with restrictions on touch and later purification. Ritual impurity was not the same thing as dirt or infection, although it could still shape social contact. Across different societies, temporary separation could mean stigma, protection, rest, spiritual importance, or several things at once. We should not flatten every secluded space into the same story. Medieval Europe is another place where popular certainty outruns evidence. Written sources discuss menstrual health and morality, but rarely explain the everyday mechanics of managing flow. The common claim that all medieval women simply bled freely into their clothing is not something historians can demonstrate for every place or class. Layered garments may have absorbed some flow, while reusable pieces of cloth were another practical option wherever suitable textiles were available. Once again, washing and privacy mattered as much as the material itself. Absorption was only half the problem. Menstrual pain, fatigue, and heavy bleeding existed even when the language to diagnose them did not. Women used warmth, rest when possible, massage, food, and locally known plants. Some herbal remedies may have had real physiological effects, others were ineffective or dangerously toxic, so ancient does not automatically mean safe. Most women also could not pause their responsibilities. Farming, cooking, trading, and textile work continued, making reliability more important than elegance. By the 19th century, evidence becomes clearer. Many women made washable cloth pads at home and attached them to undergarments or homemade belts. Commercial sanitary belts and disposable napkins appeared in the late 19th century. But price, discomfort, embarrassment, and limited availability slowed their adoption. Mass-produced pads became more successful in the early 20th century. Launched in 1920, used highly absorbent cellulose material developed for medical dressings. This was a major change in convenience, not the moment women first learned to manage menstruation. For thousands of years, women had already adapted local materials, clothing, washing routines, and shared knowledge to fit their lives. The missing artifacts do not reveal a lack of ingenuity. They reveal what historians, collectors, and museums once decided was unimportant. We preserved swords, coins, and royal tombs. The folded cloth used by an ordinary woman was washed until it wore out and then vanished. That is why the honest history of menstruation contains uncertainty. Not because nothing happened, but because a universal human routine was practiced privately and recorded poorly. Ancient women handled their periods in many different ways. The most important answer is not one magical material. It is adaptation, repeated every month, almost entirely outside the history books.